Today, I'll be telling you all the tale of Max Striker, also known as MamaMax Online. If you don't know MamaMax, he was a very well liked and respected YouTuber who did videos in a dark documentary style, and the focus of these videos was hunting or exposing preds. You might have known him by his voice, because he faked his voice.
If you consider my advocacy for the well-being of children to be saying dumb, then perhaps you are someone who warrants closer scrutiny. But feel free to clarify.
But he did videos before this era where he hunted those people. He had a series called Life Sucks, where I guess he just talks about life. I don't really know. I never watched it. For the longest time, those videos were private, but I guess recently they were made public again. This dude heavily emphasized how he wanted to protect the children.
My fight against the exploitation of children is not just a professional mission. It is a personal one.
We are living in a world where survivors scream for help and no one wants to listen.
God's will is not written in man-made books. It is written in our DNA. Reproduce and protect our offspring.
And you might be thinking, but sir, PERK 30, how could a pred catcher be a bad person? Well, you're about to find out. There's a lot to talk about. The main start of the downfall was MamaMax making a video on a dude who supposedly made a werewolf cult and people who were not 18. The dude's name is Camden Gerard Davis. MamaMax also goes on to dox the mom's name too in a video, who didn't even know supposedly what all was going on, as he would hide the girls in his room. MamaMax's video has no good evidence besides some people's testimonies, a picture of a victim and him together, and a video of Camden wearing some fake werewolf teeth. MamaMax believes that testimonies are good enough evidence just to call the dude whatever is said.
Like, we can't just listen to survivors when they're screaming for help.
Which is hypocritical, as Max himself has some allegations against him, from 3 of his exes at least, and some of his old friends. So by MamaMax's logic, everything they say is the truth just off what they say. MamaMax's logic has been debunked multiple times in the past. After basically trying to make you feel bad for not listening to people, it's like he has forgotten that there's been multiple instances online and just in wide news, more famously an NFL player, that had false accusations against him by a woman just because of jealousy and that he was doing well and she was not. And there's probably also some other reasons as well, and there's been other instances like Alex Pereira where a woman literally lied against him just for some clout and some sales on her private page. One of MamaMax's allegations is lying privately about another YouTuber known as NightDogs, a YouTuber who does video essays as well. MamaMax lived with NightDogs for free for a little while, and during private conversations with connections they had, MamaMax would say that NightDogs was a creep, a bad dad, and a pet. He would say this stuff with only context of 2 stories of his own. One of these stories, NightDogs would persistently hit on a waitress during a dinner together, and in another instance, NightDog supposedly unzipped his pants while talking to a girl who wasn't 18 on a Discord video call. Other thing about being a bad dad, basically, I think someone said that he slept a lot during the day.
So Max was convinced that Jim was this creep, and he backed up this claim with firstly a story about an inappropriate conversation that he claimed Jim had with a. As it turned out, this person was not a minor at all. They had told Jim their age at one point, which I believe was like 25 or so. I'm not entirely sure, but that's that whole story that Max always referred to back whenever he would call Jim a predator. There was another story that led to more of Max believing Jim to be, I guess, a creep. And it involved one trip to a restaurant that he and Jim had way back when Max was living with Jim. Apparently Jim was, making moves on the waitress and, continuously hitting on her, and he just wouldn't stop. And it made this, I guess, situation, or this dinner that they were at, very tense and awkward. Basically, every single time that I was with Max during the time when we had our, I guess, falling out, I guess you could call it, Max would perpetuate this narrative that Jim was this creep, and he would always refer back to these 2 stories.
But that's all the evidence he had. Due to these accusations, NightDogs was outcasted by his friend group, and due to this and other bad things going on in his life, he was hospitalized for mental health reasons.
All my friends, I just went away from YouTube and all that. Like, I just lost all of my self-esteem. I just felt like I was like irredeemable. There was something wrong with me that nobody would ever want to be around me, and I had no idea what it was that I did, but I was like, I'm obviously just a piece of...
So you'd say this impacted your career, I guess?
Absolutely, it impacted my career. I completely fell off. I ended up hospitalized. Like, I genuinely ended up hospitalized. I came within hours of doing something very permanent and very stupid. It was the last straw, and essentially on top of a period of about 3 or 4 years of one traumatic incident after another.
MamaMax hasn't talked about this situation or even made a video on it, despite it being a very good idea to, considering the content he makes and what he talks about. And if you don't tell this story, wouldn't you technically be protecting a bad person? My guess is Max knew that this would backfire on him, so he just decided not to ever make a video on it. But Max would have another allegation against him, well, 3 separate ones by his exes, for a troubling past. Basically, a list of it, not like going into specific which victim had to deal with what, but he was obsessive, stalked, like actually stalked, like he actually, I cannot emphasize enough how he stalked these people, from going to their different apartments, somehow figuring out different apartments and jobs, and staying around there. And there's like, I think, some legal documents of like actual reports being made against him or something, or complaints. But he also put his hand down a girl's pants while she was sleeping, because he was rubbing her back and apparently just got like, down, below the shorts, and was watching her sleep. He also has an SA allegation. He's a narcissist, which is evident, which you'll see why later. He's an isolator, guilt tripper, threw stuff at one of the victims, and lied about them.
At this point, I was afraid and didn't want to potentially set him off, so I just, was being nice but distant. One night he showed up to my dorm room. I hadn't told him which dorm I was staying in, so it was strange. He found out where I was. When I asked him how he knew where I was, he laughed and never told me. For the next 4 years, Max would intermittently find his way into my life. He left a coffee and a rose on my grandma's porch with a note saying, "Sorry for being a bad boy." I wasn't even living there at the time. My Nana called me and was really worried about it. He showed up at the Walmart near my apartment after I moved off campus, which was an hour away from his mom's house, who he was still living with at the time. He randomly showed up at an old friend's house to ask about me and crashed on their couch, which was hours away. It wasn't even that she lived close. She was going to college in like South Texas, and he showed up there. He sent Anthony an apology letter through Twitter, and basically admitting to, a lot of these things and apologizing for it. Max found every apartment I lived in while living in Texas. 4 different apartment complexes. I had to break my lease early due to not feeling safe at one of them. While living in Texas, I had to notify jobs and employers of Max and show them pictures so that if he showed up, they could turn him away. Anthony had to do this too. There are many reports to the police on my behalf because of Max. It took me several years to admit that I had a stalker. I've been diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety as a direct result of being held against my will in that hotel room. Although I haven't had direct contact with Max since 2019, the repercussions of his actions have stuck with me to this day. I've had to go through several rounds of therapy to learn how to cope with the triggers he created, and it is still an ongoing process. I honestly thought I was done dealing with Max for the rest of my life, and believe me, I want to move on from this more than anything. But when Max and many of his fans and other content creators are denying the claims of women who have stepped forward, are harassing them and their families, and are making a joke of this whole thing, I can't stay silent and pretend I didn't go through what I went through.
Of 2016, where he says he wants to cream pie me, which, is sexual activity as a At the time, he told me he was 18, so that he was born 1998, the same as me, because I was turning 18 that year, which we know is incorrect now. His ID is from 1996. So he told me he was 18, and then it wasn't until after I turned 18 he told me he was lying about his age and that he was actually 20. So he not only, lied about his age, but also dated me as a minor. I figured, because I was naive and young, that if he was born the same year as me, it doesn't really matter. He's just turned 18 and I'm turning 18, so it was fine. But yeah, he was actually lying about his age and didn't tell me until I was actually of legal age, so he did that on purpose. He was talking about flying me over to Texas before I was 18 as well. Like as a minor, he was talking about flying me internationally to see him. He obviously was only planning to do that after I became an adult. It was the only night that I stayed away from Max's family. Like, usually I was in his room in his family home. This was the first night. It was just the two of us on our own, and it was right next to Arlington, Six Flags in Arlington, where we stayed at Baymont by Windham, which is like an inn for when you're going to Six Flags. We stayed there actually the night before going to Six Flags itself, where that is where he's. I don't have a police report to back that one up. I don't have any physical evidence either. It was, like I said, 2017. Sorry. I'm not going to go into the details of how he assaulted me or anything, but yeah, that happened, and I was scared and embarrassed to not report it, and also, well, I was embarrassed because obviously I've been involved with this man for years online and went over internationally to see him, and I just thought, oh God, I'm so stupid. Like, I almost deserve this because I was so dumb. Like I thought that that's what I deserve. Obviously I didn't, and no one does. So I didn't do anything about it. I just waited until my flight to go home, and then when I was safe back in Australia, I ended things with him, which is in the 2018 when he's tried to call me internationally, because I cut him off completely, pretty much. Yeah, I just wanted to make note of a couple of things as well about Max's narcissism, is that in evidence to back that up, he will never go to the women that he's seeing. They always have to come to him. He will pay for that. That's fine, because he is isolating you. He will, like, obviously for me, he paid for my flight to go to Texas, so he could, like, obviously afford to come over here, but he didn't. He wanted me over there so he could control me and isolate me, and obviously I couldn't drive at the time. I couldn't drive in America, so I relied on him for that. I relied on his family, and I relied on his place and his space, so it's a control factor. For someone that says they have so much money, I don't know why he doesn't fly out to see these women. I mean, it's obvious. It's he wouldn't sacrifice any of that for anyone. It's all about himself. Sorry. But yeah.
The biggest red flag was when I was on my period, and he was trying to convince me to go rubberless, I guess. And he was saying that you can't get pregnant on your period. Like, let's just do it. You can't get pregnant on your period. I was like, that just seems a little wrong. I just don't believe that. And then he was like, okay, I'll look it up. So he looks it up on his phone, and he's like, yeah, it says it right here. Like, you can't get pregnant on your period. And then I was like, but can I see it? And he was like, oh, you don't trust me? You don't trust me? I was like, I just want to see it, just for my own reassurance. And he refused to show me, and then like guilt tripped me, saying, oh, you don't trust me. And then I was like, oh, I don't want him to think I don't trust him. So obviously I did what he asked. And then immediately afterwards, I go to the bathroom and I look it up myself, and it was obviously wrong. You can't get pregnant on your period. And I cried, and I cried, and then I cried. So that was the biggest red flag. Yeah. That was so stupid of me to even like let that happen. But I'm trying to think of another red flag. He would just do like that all the time, like try to convince me to do something, and if I didn't want to do it, he would guilt trip me into do it. So that was his biggest red flag. Just doing shit like that. And I feel stupid not realizing it sooner. So before, he was locking himself in his room watching funky adult stuff. He would try, and while I was sleeping, he would come in the room and try to get jiggy with me. And there was times where I was like, no. And then he would like get angry. And he keeps claiming that I was like asked for it, and I really didn't. I think I did give him permission, and then he did it, and then I was like, I don't like it at all. Actually, I hate this. And he didn't really take it seriously when I took it back. So yeah, he would do that, and he did it a lot. Like probably for like a month straight, he was just doing it. And like it was like at 7 a.m. when I was sleeping hard. He would just come and wake me up like that. So I was already heartbroken over like a month ago in my head. And then he kept coming over after a week, and like at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And he kept coming over uninvited. I didn't really invite him at all. And I did not want to see him, but he wanted to see me. And then finally my mom called him and was like, if you do this again, I'm going to call the cops on you, because you're coming like so late and they're asleep and uninvited. That's probably the biggest issue. But then he knew my family schedule. He knew when my parents went to work. He knew when my brother went to work. And he knew when I went to work. And he came at a point where he knew my parents were gone. And it was right before my shift at Subway. And he came in my room and he shut the door and he locked it, like uninvited. And I was just sitting on my bed across the room doing my makeup for work. And I was just like, what the are you doing here? And then he's like, please take me back, Olivia. Please, I regret everything. Like, I'll do better this time. Like, I promise. And then he was just crying and saying that he wants me back. And I was like, no, I don't want to be with you. Like, get out of my house. Like, this is scary. And then I told him no. So then he got angry. Like, he went from like, I'm so sad, to like instantly when I said no, like he was angry. And then that's when it got even scarier. And so I had his mom's necklace, and I was so like, he was trapping me in my room. So I threw it at him, and then trying to get him out. I don't know why I thought that would work, but then he throws it back way harder than I threw it. And then there's a box next to my door with like miscellaneous, and it had a webcam that he gave me. It was a Logitech webcam, and he threw it at me. He just kept at me, and the webcam, he threw it so hard that it broke like in half. Yeah, and then at that point, I'm just bawling. And I'm like, get out of my house. Like, my parents are almost home. I have to go to work. Like, get the. And then as soon as he heard my parents are almost home, that's when he was like, fine, I'll leave. And then he left. And then after that, after he left, maybe like a couple days later, he told everyone I cheated on him, which I never ever cheated on him. He called me. He kept spam calling me, and this is when I started working at Walmart. So like literally a week, I was working at Subway. Now I'm working at Walmart, and he calls me on my breaks at Walmart and telling me that he was like so mad at me because I started dating another guy, even though we were broken up, and he told everyone I cheated on him, even though we were not together. He told me he was gonna unalive himself. He told me that I unalived our children, and like within the relationship in the beginning, like people like come up with, oh, our future baby names, and all the names we made up, he listed them off, saying, oh, you killed this baby and that baby, and like, what about like my little girl? Like she's dead because of you. That's what he was yelling at me on the phone, and I'm just on my break at Walmart like crying because like, how could you say, threatening to unalive himself? And I didn't know what to do in this situation. So I think I texted his sister and his mom, and I was like, can you check on Max? He's telling me a lot of scary stuff. And I don't like it. And then after he told everyone, like all of his friends were telling me how big of a I am and how they never seen Max hurt like this before. And then I was like, I never cheated on him, and they were like, you're a liar. And then his fans are mad at me, telling me to K-word myself, and it was just a little wild. I never cheated on him. And then, you know what the crazy part is, too, is that maybe a year and a half later, the same friend that was like, you're a liar, told me that, like, hey, I just hope you know you're right about Max. Like, he is a piece. And I was like, I literally told y'all that. But whatever. Oh, and something I do want to know is that when we first started dating and he was like love bombing me and shit, he was telling me about how horrible Lucy was and about how horrible Haley was. And he told me him and Haley dated, which Haley told me they never did. So, and then he told me that Lucy cheated on him. He told me that Sarah cheated on him. He told me that Haley like led him on and cheated on him. He told me all of his girlfriends were horrible. And like obviously I believed him because we were dating. And then as soon as we broke up, and then a week later, he did the same exact thing to me. So then I was like, so I bet you none of his ex-girlfriends actually did any of that, and they're not the crazy ones. He's just making it up. Like, and he's doing the same process every girlfriend. And like Paulina and Lucy have told me stories that he's done to them, and I have such similar stories. And that's why I know they're 100% telling the truth, because how could they have something so similar happen to them? I never told them what happened to me, but it's something like just in our own way, in our own time frames. So he's just doing the same to different girls. So, yeah. And then he somehow convinced me to be his friend again, because he's like, Max is smart. That's the thing. Like, people think I'm like calling him dumb. No, he's smart. He's smart, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's like really good with making people like him. So he convinced me to be his friend again. And we were hanging out one day, and our friends were supposed to be there at this movie. And somehow they all canceled, and it was just me and him. And so we go watch the movie, and he's trying to hold my hand. I'm like, Max, this isn't a date. Like, I just want to make that very aware this isn't a date. And I said that straight up. So, like, I wasn't giving him any, like, signals or, like, anything. I was very clear that this was not a date. And then we go back to my house, and then we're sitting on my bed, kind of, like, right in front of each other. And I'm wanting to show him my new favorite song. It was such a cute song. And I was playing it, and I was, like, kind of, and my room was, like, dim. And I was swaying to it with my eyes closed, just listening to it. And then all of a sudden, he just kisses me. Like, even though I've said this is not a date 100 times, he still just went. I didn't want to see him anymore. And he knew I didn't want to see him anymore. And this is where the screenshots of his conversation with my brother come in. He tried to convince my brother to lie for him, so he had an excuse to come and see me. And in the screenshots, he even says, "I don't want her to be in a position of power." No one says that unless they're insane, you know? So he didn't want me to be in a position of power, because if he came to me, he saw it as I was like higher than him or something.
There is some supposed things that aren't true and some contradictions in the stories. There's not that much proof besides some, documents, some legal documents, and pictures of these girls with him. But if we use Max's logic, then all of this is true, and extra context and evidence doesn't matter. But due to Max's mental health, he harmed himself and showed a video of it on Facebook and blamed it on Magnetar. After this situation, he was dishonorably discharged from the military.
I was in the United States Army before I was discharged for attempting to
Magnetar, if you don't know, is the person that made this initial video with all the ex's stories. MamaMax in this situation goes on to make a response video to Magnetar's video and proceeds to dox the YouTuber who by giving out his name, face, where he works, and in the end call him a pedo.
Anthony Field, Haley's boyfriend, Magnetar on YouTube, the one who published this video on me.
And the reason he did is because of one person's quote story that was from Twitter messages. And there was no evidence. There was no other evidence besides just a story from one person. There was no video, despite this dude supposedly going into and hanging out with kids in school. No phone, no picture. Yeah, it just didn't make sense.
To me, that was a poetic ending, is that this guy who put all my exes together literally has a testimony against him, and not only by one person, it's supported by multiple people, and there are now news stories coming about that he was sneaking into his high school as an adult, eating lunch with freshmen.
But you're trying to use other people, that there was multiple people coming out against Magnetar to try to bolster your argument. But there were many more people who came out against you. So I just
without evidence,
I just don't understand.
And although the burden of proof was on them, I provided the evidence.
Wait, what was your evidence against Magnetar?
Max's account and evidence against Magnetar at the time amounted to a witness statement over Twitter, and that was all he really had to bring. He made a serious allegation, and even then he followed up in his video that he wasn't going to continue investigating because there wasn't enough actual evidence.
But I've not made a video on him, despite wanting to all these years, because I do not want to harass them, and I feel this is not enough evidence to build an entire case against him. So I have not and will not until we have more proof.
Max uses this argument a lot if you are against him. He basically says that you are a pedo and you are ignoring screaming kids. But if he makes a video about a topic, we just have to listen. And if we question it at all, then we are just the worst people on earth.
We are living in a world where survivors scream for help and no one wants to listen.
That clip makes me so incredibly sick. The exposed videos were edited like a schizophrenic person had a video editing software. Due to rambling, such as huge text paragraphs on screen for literal seconds, if even, which the common person won't be able to go back to read or can even stop the video in time to read. There's also other stuff that just has zero explanation to it in these videos against Camden. and he went on a side rant about AI, destroyed any possibility of an investigation if there was any, and to add, the title and thumbnail were lies and clickbait to attempt to get, quote, more viewers on the topic he was talking about. The problem was he targeted a bigger YouTuber, Moist Critical, who I've talked about in the past, and tried to make it seem like, via the title, that Moist Critical did some very bad things, basically, was a pred and such. Because, the dude talks about those type of people and then says this is the greatest cancellation of all time. It made it seem like, Moist Critical did some very bad things. The title of the video originally was, "This is the greatest cancellation of all time, @Penguin0, #WeAreReal." Then he ended up changing it to something about SSS Sniper Wolf, who I've also talked about in the past, but the title was still a lie. For whatever ridiculous reason, MamaMax thought it'd be a good idea to make multiple videos with weird clickbait titles to try to lure in more people to talk about the situation or watch the video, when he would have been way better off just doing his content the way he always did, as he already had an audience, eyes on him, connections that would make a video on the topic if, MamaMax just didn't make a terrible video, and making the title and thumbnail actually related to the topic in the video. The thing is, MamaMax in the past has had success getting people to come together with his #PickASide YouTube campaign, and from what I remember, it actually had great success. SomeOrdinaryGamers, and other YouTubers made a video covering the issues and such that MamaMax brought up at that time. But in these clickbait and weird videos, he attempts to call Moist Critical and other big creators pedos if they don't talk about Camden, and attempts to call for people as big as Joe Rogan or as odd and small as Anthony Fantano, a literal music reviewer, to talk about this situation. And in Max's eyes, if you didn't talk about the situation, you were, quote, silencing the screams of children and are a pedophile yourself.
The other big part is when he starts pointing out that if influencers deny anything here in this, then they could be one of these following horrible things like internet, like human groomers, so on and so forth. Which again is insane to put anybody critical of what they're about to see, especially when they should be critical of what Max is about to post, into a severe camp just again for denying any of the contents that he's posted in this video.
Max would also end up saying stuff like this towards SomeOrdinaryGamers in text message because he was too busy to respond to a Discord message. Because at the time, SomeOrdinaryGamers, or Mutah, was focusing on a bigger project of his own and in a very deep investigation. Max tried to compare YouTubers to cult leaders despite during this time of making the videos on Camden, changing his YouTube channel name to God Cult. He did this because it had some definition or something, but it really wasn't that deep. The definition was stupid. And overall, it was a terrible idea, and he ended up changing back his name to MamaMax on YouTube within a week or so. He'd also go on to upload an interview where Spencer, the quote main victim focused on in this video against Camden Gerard Davis, would tell her story on her own channel, a nearly 5-hour quote podcast episode talking about everything. Spencer, a homeless person who doesn't have a license, was also in charge of money for the victims and such, and where it went. Because there was some funding for the victims and stuff like that, I guess from Max and from the videos and such, and for whatever reason, a homeless person with no license is in control of it. And this caused big issues as one of the victims ended up making Facebook posts asking people for money for just supplies for her kid, such as diapers, wipes, and eggs during this time, while Spencer sits on top of this money. Spencer started living with MamaMax and siphoning money from him, and there was a question around if there was a relationship going on in the background between MamaMax and Spencer, which also made people question the true reasoning behind MamaMax's Camden videos. The relationship has never been confirmed though, but they did talk about being lifelong friends as they'd known each other for a very long time. Also to add, Spencer, when with Camden, was also someone who lured more people into the group and has self-admitted to terrible crimes, which doesn't really make you look like a good person either in this situation, whether you're a part of this cult or not. This is just the start, as behind the scenes, MamaMax was trying to force people to sign non-disclosure agreements, also called NDAs, to be in a Discord chat room where all of the victims and all of the, quote, evidence was. The evidence was in a shareable link filled with files called a megalink, but it got took down due to illegal material being on it. Megalink and some other places I think as well have a system where files are scanned by a bot, and if something illegal is found on it by the bot, then it is took down. So you don't have people looking at illegal material by accident when reviewing these things, so bots do it, which is what ended up happening here. Apparently someone who worked with MamaMax was in charge of the Megalink. I think one of the things that supposedly got him banned was Camden was naked in a few pictures or videos or something that was in that link, and that's what caused the ban. Pretty sure that now it's with the police, and I think what happens is whenever you get banned on Megalink, you get like all of your stuff sent to the police as well. So that's going to be interesting. Before the video was released, if you signed the NDA, he would show the upcoming video and let them in the Discord server with the other victims. Also, this Discord server with the victims was easily infiltrated by anyone who pretended to be one of the victims, as someone showed it on Twitter, which this also showed holes in MamaMax's security. He also took allegations as full-on evidence without even trying to get more proof, and even after posting the videos about Camden, he didn't even have every victim's story yet.
The second hour of this call was more around Max's demeanor and his actions regarding this investigation, and there are quite a few bombshells in here that we personally feel are a little too irresponsible, I guess if you wanted to put it lightly. Max had actually revealed to us that there were portions where he didn't even properly vet and timeline all of the evidence.
I guess the challenge for me with showing the evidence is I personally have not been walked through the evidence besides Spencer's. The survivors in the server, not all of them are as active as we would like them to be. Obviously, a lot of them have trauma, they talk about it, and that it's hard for them to actually just sit down and speak with me. But that's why I've been just asking the general public to please be patient. Like, there's a lot of things we need to wait for. I am just trying to get the word out that this is Camden Gerard Davis. This is what the accusations against him are. And it's also, you can also, like, we are fine saying this is all alleged. Like, we are fine if...
But you can't just say it's alleged now. You've been calling him a pedophile.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's not.
I'm fine doing it because I trust them. But...
Okay, but you said you didn't review most of the evidence besides Spencer, though.
I reviewed the evidence. I just haven't had the context as to what it is pertaining to.
So you looked at the evidence, but you don't understand how...
Yeah, in the exact timeline, which has been just one of many reasons why it's been such a struggle to create the comprehensive timeline, as I'm waiting on a lot of different things.
But you see, that's why people are inflamed with you right now. It's because you just told me in this call that you didn't properly review every single victim, and now...
And just from this one clip, you can ascertain the complete frustration that I and many others have had when communicated by Max about this situation. How is it that you can make calls to action and blatant statements of fact when, at the end of the day, you have literally not even properly reviewed, you have not properly contextualized, and even timelined every single bit of evidence that consistently builds? You're clearly not an investigator built for this case. And it's not literally because someone like him is out of his head because he only is one person. I have done plenty of investigations. I've just never revealed and played my hand and explained things until I fully understood them. How Max couldn't do it for such a serious situation like this is insane.
And going back to the NDA was very faulty as it wasn't notarized by any legal team and was probably made by AI, as Max uses AI as a lawyer and for other legal topics and advice, which, unlike Max claims, AI doesn't understand the legal system, and from Mutah's own words, who is, very well with computers, says AI is only getting dumber. MamaMax, in a Discord chat room with all the victims, said he planned on suing Mutah for, quote, breaking the NDA, and along with other things, I'll just let Mutah say and talk about himself.
Fault. Now, since then, there have been a few things that have come out that I wanted to address. For instance, this post I saw, which shortly after the video that I produced had come out, where Max, in a private evidence Discord server, which has since, from my understanding, been deleted because it was leaked by Max failing to have proper OPSEC and letting anybody jump in by socially engineering themselves. In this he types, "At everyone, Spencer and I," Spencer being his lead witness in this vampire sex cult case, "are considering a class action lawsuit against Mutah for breaching our non-disclosure agreement, inciting harassment on live streams, defamation, and causing emotional distress. He's extremely rich, so the lawsuit seeks $1 million in damages to be distributed between all of you." Now, when I first read this, most people would think that I would do the laugh like, but I did not laugh. This is a former friend of mine, and honestly, this is probably one of the most painful things for me to read, because this is somebody that I sat down, had a drink with, had a talk to, gave a heart-to-heart to, and now, within 24 hours, I've basically realized that this person wants to effectively sue me for a large chunk of money, okay? An obscene amount of money. Why? Because to me, all this appears is all I ever was to this man was an extremely rich friend who had enough social media clout for him to piggyback his stupid case off of. This, to me, is quite possibly one of the worst, like, internet betrayals I ever had. And if anything, it's the one thing that has pushed me severely away from everybody on YouTube in the last week or two. I really feel like I have no friends on this platform. And I know that's dramatic of me to say, but reading this kind of stuff is just incredibly painful. You have to be in this personal situation to see this. Now, when I read this, I actually did confer with my lawyers, and what's funny is when we talk about the non-disclosure agreement, there was no like solid non-disclosure agreement, at least one that was notarized by legal parties. So my lawyer said that I have really nothing to worry about. And when it comes to inciting harassment, defamation, and causing emotional distress, I would say that I have been very cordial, nice as I can be reasonably in a situation like this. Now, one of the other things my lawyers at least relayed to me is reading the word "he's extremely rich, so the lawsuit seeks $1 million in damages" is quite possibly one of the biggest mistakes you can make when actually threatening litigation. Because this is what a court will look at and say, ah, this is why you're actually hitting them, because you just want a payday. Now, when you also read the words class action lawsuit, this isn't a class action situation. This is another example of Max utilizing ChatGPT for legal advice when ChatGPT has been known to get dumber, and you can look up the litany of lawyers that have used ChatGPT and been laughed out by judges imaginable. So later on it says all you would have to do is testify against him, particularly regarding his actions, not speaking to any of you about the evidence and the impact his behavior has had on you, which is materially false. I have actually spoken to Spencer and the other victims in this situation, some of them privately, obviously. I don't like to make a public case of something that is ongoing. Spencer has agreed to be the lead plaintiff, and I'll do all of the hard work. How can you have a plaintiff in a class action lawsuit? Wouldn't it be a representative? Again, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm also a little smarter than ChatGPT, which just Googles information, I would say. Let us know if you're interested. This could have a huge impact on the case against Kate. Now, when I read this, I was like, what? One of the actual users here said, dude, no, can this stop? Again, even the people on the server, and from everything that I've been told privately, were not okay with any of this. So even Spencer in this situation writes, I think this is important personally. Mutah has breached terms of the NDA, and his actions have caused cyberstalking and harassment. And this is dangerous. If he doesn't learn, what stops him from doing similar in the future in relation to other cases? I agree with waiting for blank, though just in case, if it is plausible, Mutah should be held accountable. His behavior is disgusting. My behavior on reaching objective truth is in fact disgusting, which I find really disgusting. And of course, Max here, like a dog following his leader, writes agreed. And of course, Max dangles a $1 million payday in front of these bereaved individuals as if it's going to help their case. Yeah, imagine involving survivors in a totally separate legal case that really doesn't have anything to do with them. Do you really want to put people through that kind of trauma? Like, Jesus Christ, look.
So he completely backstabbed Mutah, is money motivated, and apparently so is Spencer. The victims didn't even want this to happen and saw how stupid it was. This obviously is such disgusting behavior, as Mutah is a very well loved, respected, and smart creator, so going after him in general is a huge mistake, but also saying $1 million and just being so obviously money motivated and weird, it makes you look terrible. It's disgusting. Another YouTuber by the name of Nicolas DeOrio actually ended up signing the NDA, and a part of it said that you had to live stream your own reaction to the video as a part of the NDA, which I don't know if that's like I don't think you can like force that. MamaMax also admitted to never actually getting anyone arrested or anything of the sort, and said to think of his videos as quote films and not actual true documentaries about him actually catching people. This was also said in one of the big paragraphs in his videos that, you know, quickly was like on and off the screen.
Into where we look at Max's rebranding, known as God Cult. This video, Brainwash Your Favorite Influencer, begins with a QR code and a text to the bottom asking viewers to send the video to large specific channels. He scrolls a massive disclaimer I need frame-by-frame analysis to read. 2 key points from this bull that I found interesting to me was when Max had signified that this was fictitious materials, when in reality this is serious allegations we're talking about. How is this a fictitious element, and why are we putting any of that into this video? Even if it is for legal reasons, can we actually believe anything that you're about to say and the people that you're about to name? That's a pretty big point of contention, and one that we'll come back to round trip towards the end of the video.
So recently, people have been saying that your investigations kind of skew the line between fact and fiction because they're finding things that you've created as context for the video. I think people are pointing to the Discord server that you were an admin of when you were showing it. The lawsuit that you changed the name or whatever. How much of what you do is kayfabe and how much of it is legitimately like live? This is the investigation. Here it is.
So the investigations themselves are real, but obviously the films have fictional elements. There's multiple reasons. Like, for example, the admin thing on the Discord server, I had to recreate it. Yeah. That was a recreation because I didn't have the originals. The IMVU thing, I wasn't, I don't know why people are saying like it's a film. Like I am presenting it as if it were to be real, but I didn't think people would take it as that. Like,
but wait, you don't think that people are going to think your videos are real?
So that's the thing. So I want everyone, when you watch my video, to assume everything is fake, except like when I show a face and what they're doing.
Usually YouTubers will say, oh, think of this isn't real, this is this or that, to get away from any legal repercussions in the future, but MamaMax admitted it himself and was serious and not just trying to say it to be like, oh, to save me legally later. Max also talked about multiple times where videos or stuff in videos was faked or remade. One instance would be in the IMVU video where MamaMax ends up, quote, finding the victim's account, her YouTube channel, getting a hacker to hack into the account to see privated videos where the victim implies that they, take their self. This video is at least over a year old now, and on a recent live stream, he goes on to say that she is still alive.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Is there an update on Casey? Can you talk about how you got into the account or how you found it? That's a bit much.
I can't talk too much about Casey. I don't know what I can and can't say. I will tell you that yes, she's okay. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, thank God! I didn't even know that. Holy, that's something I wanted to actually jump in VC with you about at some point.
Yes, but
thank God.
Honestly, I and everyone else should have seen that these videos were faked when these 0.1% chance scenarios were in the videos and others as well. The story is nearly impossible to be real even without his admission that it was fake. What's the chance that you find a YouTube channel off of that one profile picture of a popular anime? Also, after the video is released, the accounts of the IMVU and Victim YouTube channel, I think this happened in other instances as well, the accounts basically just get deleted. Whether it was the Victim or Preds, they just get deleted. They're off the internet right after. People will go search for them and they're gone. There's also other times where he said that he had to, quote, remake certain instances for the videos. Whether that's true or not is certainly questionable now. So, MamaMax lied in multiple interviews when asked about how many arrests he had, and had faked the entirety of what made him as popular as he is today.
Have you ever gotten someone arrested?
If I have, then I don't know it.
You went on my podcast to tell me that you've got someone arrested and it was because of your video, just to be clear. Would you like to re-answer that question?
I've been emailed stuff like, hey, you got this guy arrested, congratulations.
You went on and you said, this guy was arrested, it was because of me, it was because of my video. And you told me that 2 years ago.
It's kind of egotistical of me to say that it was my video that did it. I don't know that for sure.
But then you said recently that he fled to the Philippines. So was Sonny ever arrested? Pablo Sonny? Did that ever even happen?
Yes, he did. All we know is that his last location we picked him up from was Mexico. Whether he fled to the Philippines or not, we don't know. We just know he has family there, and that's the most likely destination they would go to, just because.
But he was in, like, so he was arrested. That was.
Pablo Sonny? I don't think so. I think he got away.
Dude, what the
Yeah, if he was arrested, I have no idea.
Why did you tell me he was arrested? You said Pablo Sonny was arrested and my video did it. Why did you lie to me on my show?
Do you have a clip of that?
Yes. It's in something I've been currently editing.
Yeah, send it to me.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. I think there's even a video on YouTube. Actually, can you just jump in the screen share? I'll just pull it over. Because somebody archived it.
I guess I can hear stuff, but I can't see anything.
That's all you need because the visual is a drawing. Okay, here you go. This is the two clips, contrasting clips of Pablo Sonny. Okay, so obviously one of them is in December 29th, and the other is, December 29th, 2021, and the other is November 27th, 2023. Okay?
Okay.
What is your primary goal is that then? There's no, what's your other,
Well, I guess the question is like the Nick's getting at is like, okay, so you want to enact this change. What do you hope is the eventual result of your video?
Okay.
Of all of this.
So I know there's people out there saying I'm doing it to self-serve. I just want my video back up. I don't give a if my video comes back up. It did what it needed to do. So that was in the video is currently in police custody. And
was that as a result of your video, or was that prior to the video?
Yes, it was because of the video. Right. The video was about IMVU and this one predator. I made it about him and him alone.
IMVU is a game, right? You played the game and you exposed this guy.
Yes.
Do you mind walking me through the chain of events that led from your video to him being imprisoned?
Yeah, so I dropped the video. The end of the video is a call to action. Usually all my videos are a call to action, like find him, and we did.
So in this case, find him meant like you didn't know who he was. You wanted his doc so he could go to jail.
All we had was his face and his voice.
Right.
And out of that, I said, find him. And then within 24 hours, we found him. And then I started social engineering all of his friends to give me his information. And they did. And then we pegged him. He fled to Mexico. We found where he was in Mexico.
Wow.
I don't know if the police, he was from Canada. So I don't know if the police asked him to come back.
As all terrible people are.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if the police asked him to come back or he went on his own volition or they forced him to come back. I don't know any of those details. I just know he went back to Canada and was in police custody for a certain amount of time.
So you lied.
So that was what I was told through Instagram posts when I was in contact with his friends.
You didn't remember that until I showed you the clip? You didn't remember that, like, this is your biggest crown achievement, that you got a pedophile arrested?
I didn't remember the details, no. I just remember he fled to Mexico, all the police custody. That was only I was told. I couldn't verify any of that.
So you just got on stream and told everybody it was me, I did it, MamaMax, #1.
Yeah, that's not cool. You can let people know I think that. I mean, we literally had him in a voice call. Like, it's like the Mega Drive. Like, it's literally us saying we're 14 years old. He's saying, yeah, I want to see, like, I want you to ride me, like that, to what he thinks is a 14-year-old. And we verified that by telling him, like, I don't know, I'm young. I don't know, I'm only 14. I think that should be sufficient to put him in prison. But the law says otherwise, I suppose, because as far as I know, he hasn't been imprisoned, and people have been I received an email that someone was going to talk to the deputy about why he hasn't been arrested. And I'm also actually going to start interviewing police local to me as to don't get arrested, because I know they all want to arrest them. It's just the law binds them.
So you've never actually gotten a file arrested?
Not to my knowledge.
MamaMax mainly responded to all the criticisms around him by going on live streams. He would also get these victims to go on the live streams as well amidst this huge drama. I don't know if they were forced, but they would talk about the situation to random people and also YouTubers and viewers, and basically have to debate the entire time, which is just a terrible move, and MamaMax in multiple situations will use Spencer as a shield when criticized during private calls.
Well, I'm asking why you did not directly contact me, but contact us only in public stream.
Let's see, I contacted you November 27th. Max, I've seen your latest video. I've caught up with this whole situation. I have texted you.
What it felt like seeing him on streams?
You went on with Tommy and Lyrics and are sitting there talking to them when you literally haven't spoken to the other survivors.
Hold on, can you put Max on for a second?
I'm right here.
That was snaky as dude. Oh, I'm coming after you, Mutah. Stand back, Spencer. Can you tell him what you felt? You are literally just a little
because
snake
it
hiding
literally.
behind her, dude. That's
Can you
disgusting.
listen to me? Can you listen to me? It was so heartbreaking hearing Mutah sit there and say that, oh, if this is fake, then I'll gladly put money towards Camden's defamation trial.
Yeah, if it is fake.
I thought you said it's fine with saying it's allegedly. Now all of a sudden,
It's
there's
real?
there's no like other side to the story.
How do you feel? How do you think that it makes myself and the other survivors feel when you're saying that? It is okay to think that, but you're going publicly and saying that to everybody else when you haven't spoken to the others. I'm just trying to understand, why would you do that without talking to us?
I've spoken with Max. Max is your representative. Max is supposed to be the one bringing the story across to everyone. And yes, if in the case that everything is actually... Why is it your job? Because you're the one who's like spearheading this. You're the one spearheading it. What do you mean? Fine, give it to Spencer's channel. Spencer, you upload this whole thing.
What? You're the person who's running the investigation.
Oh my
this is
God.
your
Investigate
case.
this as well, and you haven't.
Yeah, why are you putting it all on me? Like, yes,
You're the one bringing it. Why are you talking about this case?
I am the first one.
Yeah.
I do not want to be the only one.
You're
the only one.
Well, then you are the only one. You haven't convinced exactly. You haven't made anything
You
compelling.
haven't been listening to them. I've been trying to set up a call like this for months.
Yeah, and I've had a 2-hour-long call, and I'm not moving anywhere close to the situation. In fact, I have more questions.
Why can't you take initiative to talk to other survivors?
Well, I'm talking to you right now more than anybody else.
He would also, in response videos, use victims as a shield against any bad that he had done, such as in his, quote, I take accountability video, where he took no accountability, by the way.
And feels like when we reach out for help, people just want to use that opportunity to attack us, to hate on me. While I was there listening to her, that's when I realized this is going to evolve into something much more. Like, originally, I just wanted to do a podcast where we platform survivors and they tell their story. But you can't just tell your story anymore. Now you need concrete evidence. Now you need to go to law enforcement multiple times. Now you need to consult with lawyers. Like, we can't just listen to survivors when they're screaming for help. I hope you can all understand my position. We are living in a world where survivors scream for help and no one wants to listen. There are children living in literal hell, and we can't hear them.
In one of the streams, he also talked about how he possibly would not even have a case due to lack of evidence when talking to lawyers.
We are not going to court, Xylee.
So what are you doing? Just hunting them down like a deer? Is that what we're doing? What are we doing?
Have you not been listening this stream?
I know, but you loop. You loop, and then you always look to somebody else for an answer. You can't give an answer yourself.
I'm answering you.
What are you doing then? Tell me right now. I will be quiet for you to answer, and go.
So when we reached out to the lawyer, he told us it would not be beneficial to pursue a case against Camden Gerard Davis because he likely does not have substantial assets. So he recommended that we all go in person to report him to the police station that is in his jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
That is what we are
they
doing.
didn't tell you to go into the okay, is he still in the same jurisdiction that the crime occurred?
For the most recent survivors, yes.
Okay. Because I was always under the impression you have to go into the jurisdiction that the crime occurred. All right? Then yes, carry your pretty over to that jurisdiction and go, "Hey, Mr. Police Officer, I have a crime to report." Yes, that's what needs to be done.
Yes,
Hell,
that
you
is
might
what we are
even be
doing.
able, and because since, you know, COVID and stuff like that, you might even be able to do it over the phone. I don't know. I don't know. Because I've only dealt, because I know you're in a different state now. You know what I'm saying? But I've had to do it. I've had to do stuff like this before on my own accord. But yes, you need to go to the police of the jurisdiction of where the crime occurred and go, "Hello, Mr. Officer, can you help me?"
Yes, that is what we are doing.
Okay, that should have been done before all these live streams.
Although the internet might take testimonies as absolute proof, the law will not. There's also multiple videos he made during this time period of the drama, one titled "Brainwash Your Favorite Influencer Trigger Warning," which is an engagement farming attempt where he can, quote, spread the message, asking weird questions that are not relevant at all to the topic of Camden, more schizo fast text on screen, AI art that is weird and disturbing and not relevant visuals. This is also the same video where he went on to ask people to share this to Joe Rogan. In that video as well, he lets Spencer make a section in the video where he doxes Camden's mom's name, which is absolutely insane, especially whenever the self-admitted victim says, like, yeah, I hid from her the entire time. She had, like, no idea. So what was the point of that? A video titled "This Is What Happened to MamaMax" is another video that came out where he responds to comments on the video that I just talked about, the Brainwash Your Favorite Influencer video. His responses were poor and didn't make complete sense. It was a bunch of deflecting, and he tries to make you seem like the bad guy because you think the videos that he was doing weren't really good at all and made him look bad.
Just unsubscribed from you today. Couldn't even make it past the first 5 minutes of this video. It's such a shame that you've fallen so hard from grace, especially since I've enjoyed many of your Life Sucks videos. But ever since you quit Life Sucks, you've been going downhill, saying really causing controversy and drama, and being a cynical. It's honestly unbelievable.
It's unfortunate that you've decided to unsubscribe after just 5 minutes into a video that tackles grave issues affecting the lives of real children. Your reluctance to engage with a video of this kind indicates your threshold for confronting reality. If you consider my advocacy for the well-being of children to be saying dumb, then perhaps you are someone who warrants closer scrutiny. But feel free to clarify, because I too would like to know what dumb you think I'm saying.
Again, back to where he can do no wrong, and you're the bad person for even questioning him. He made a GoFundMe for the victims, and it got took down within hours. The series of response videos, and even the werewolf cult video, the main big video against Camden itself, have now been privated or deleted, but they have been re-uploaded on YouTube. And to top it off, if it didn't seem like he was money motivated already, he had a response to everything behind his Patreon, which means you had to pay to see his response. And during one of the calls where Mutah and Nicolas DeOrio are asking questions, Max goes on to say, "Why do I have to do everything?" Here's the clip.
Max is supposed to be the one bringing the story across to everyone. And yes, if in the case that everything is actually... Why is it your job? Because you're the one who's like spearheading this. You're the one spearheading it. What do you mean? Fine, give it to Spencer's channel. Spencer, you upload this whole thing. What?
Person
who's running the investigation.
Oh my
This is your
case.
investigate this as well, and you haven't.
Yeah, why are you putting it all on me? Like, yes,
You're the one bringing it. Why are you talking about this case?
I am the first one.
Yeah.
I do not want to be the only one.
You're
the only one.
Well, then you are the only one. You haven't convinced. Exactly. You haven't made anything
You
compelling.
haven't been listening to them. I've been trying to set up a call like this for months.
Yeah, and I've had a 2-hour-long call, and I'm not moving anywhere close to the situation. In fact, I have more questions.
Why can't you take initiative to talk to other survivors?
Well, I'm talking to you right now more than anybody else.
To me, it's weird as he feels the absolute need or the right to make everyone else a part of this when they simply don't have to be. In fact, if he kept to himself a little more and didn't harass people for responses, he would probably be in a way better situation than he is now. This is your project, your case, your upload. You have all the information and connections to this case. You use some common sense and deal with it properly. Although it's too late to even say that now. Max knew videos from bigger creators like Nicolas, DeOrio, and Mutah were releasing very soon all over this drama, and Max went on to send weird and possibly threatening messages to Mutah, saying this: "The growing amount of evidence is the evidence. The growing amount of survivors reaching out are the evidence." Because, okay, I'll quit doing it because I know it's annoying. I used to actually watch his videos, and I go back and I can't listen to him anymore. The voice was actually that cringe. The consistency and complexity of the testimonies are the evidence. Please be patient while we are working with law enforcement before we continue our public campaigns and seek more survivors. If you need to see Camden Gerard Davis's literal devices before you are going to believe us, then we don't need or want you participating. With your power and influence, you are actively creating an environment that raises fear and doubt for survivors to reach out, and enforcing the defenses for predators, especially those who are extremely intelligent, who use platforms like Kick that have no archive system. Like, MamaMax doesn't add here at all that, like, he is just now, after making multiple videos and such, now is going to the law after, you know, being exposed for that. And sure, you could make a video being like, if you have your own story, let me know. But that should have been after the fact of making an actual well-detailed video about what's going on here. And with your power and influencer actively creating an environment that raises fear and doubt, you did that yourself. You made a terrible situation, and we're not going to fall for it. And we're going to call you out on your stupidity. And does it really matter if survivors reach out at this point? Unless they have some extremely hardcore evidence, there's most likely no case. He completely scorched it, probably out of like 16,000 technicalities. And I don't know how he's like enforcing defenses for predators. There's only one person you're talking about in this situation. Within the next few years, this case is going to blow up, and the truth will be revealed in time, especially as we continue to hound law enforcement, find more survivors, and film this documentary. There are many personalities who are going to appear on the wrong side of history after this, and I am doing everything in my power to prevent you from doing that. I'm trying to look out for you in private. Meanwhile, you are actually targeting and attacking us in the public eye, very understandably so. And those are not just my words. That is the shared feelings of the survivors from your behaviors. They want an apology from you, not me, and yet I am still the one taking accountability because I know I made some mistakes. You made a lot. Please, Mutah, take some time to think deeply and clearly about this case, other well-known documented cases, and yourself. I admit my mistakes. Please reflect on yours. I am not going to attack you publicly, but if we are forced into a position where we need to respond to you, we absolutely will, and we are not afraid to do so. And I promise you, it is going to get very ugly for you and your brand. Now, here's the thing, is that if MamaMax can actually, like, prove that we were all wrong, do it. But it's been months. There is no evidence. This situation is probably a month old now after MamaMax's most recent response to everything, which I get into later in the video. There is still nothing. There's no proof. He could have shown us something by now. He could have shown us plenty of evidence, proof, or something, and there's nothing here. Also, you say it's going to take years, like in the next few years this case will blow up. Like, really? Like, years? Come on, dude. Other well-known documented cases. This case is not documented well at all. It's actually documented so poorly that we have more evidence of you doing wrong than we have of Camden doing wrong. But to go on, let's read the rest of this message here. We have called each other brothers. Please treat me as such, as I have been doing for you. There's absolutely a time and place for a conversation on false accusations. I'm a literal victim of this phenomenon. I wouldn't say that. And I would love to have a public conversation about it, even on your podcast if you'll have me, but this case is not it. Mutah goes on to say, what do you mean it's going to get very ugly for me and my brand? I'm literally asking you for evidence. I'm never stating Camden is innocent. You made a poor job presenting this. How is it bad for me to tell people to think critically and demand concrete evidence when blasting an individual? Which, of course, you know, very solid claim there. Let me be clear that it is not a threat. Yeah, sure, that was very much like underlying threat. That is what is being discussed between the survivors and myself when you are making things public without conducting a thorough investigation. You didn't conduct a thorough investigation. You're a liar. What do you mean? So MamaMax just literally projected right here. Let me be clear that it's not a threat, which it was a threat. It was very underlying threat. That is what is being discussed between the survivors and myself when you are making things public without conducting a thorough investigation, which is so hypocritical, as MamaMax is a person sitting here right now getting called out by everyone for showing no evidence of anything that Camden has done besides a video of him having werewolf teeth, a missing poster from Spencer, and a picture or two of them together, and a mugshot of supposedly Camden. You have not done a thorough investigation yourself. You have not even let your survivors get out their story yet, or even talk to you about their story without posting several videos on the topic. And you haven't even gone to the law.
I personally have not been walked through the evidence besides Spencer's.
So to give a reference, and in like a most recent reference that I think a lot of people that watch this video will understand, the dude who made the Smart Schoolboy 9 video gave everything to the police first before uploading the video. At least that's what he says in the video, and I believe it. That is what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to make these videos like this, as it can possibly hurt or ruin an investigation. This overall just is terrible, and MamaMax is a big like manipulator and such, and it's just easy to tell. There was also criticism that came up where MamaMax has a video on his channel where he hired actors, where one of the actors is supposed to look like a little girl, and they depict a R-word scene. I'm not going to go exactly into what. I'll show you like which video it is. It has some stupid title like the others, but on YouTube it's censored, but on Patreon it apparently is not. He said himself on one of his live streams that he wanted to or could do more on that video, and be more graphic in ways such as adding mutilation scenes.
Asking you not to film scenes of implied children is not shying away from the issue. I believe it is, but we can disagree on that. We are all aware that this happens in your depictions of this. This is not true. I don't think we are all aware that this happens, at least not to the extent at which it does happen. And I didn't even go into detail. Like, I could have, like, there are mutilations, there is torture, there is things that cannot even be presented in a medium.
Just to be clear, the actress who played the minor is obviously an adult, but I don't understand the point of anything Max has made here. How is artistically recreating the exploitation empowering to victims? Max, you're a degenerate.
It's just really weird. Like, MamaMax, even in his earlier videos, you know, was like a weirder dude, but like, come on, man. Like, this isn't Terrifier 3, bro. You're a YouTuber who will want to make a R-word scene for whatever reason. MamaMax actually had a hiatus for a while, but came back recently with a return video titled Speaking Up, which is close to 4 minutes long. MamaMax has MLK and other posters in the background. I can't remember exactly all who. I think one of them was David Goggins. But to go on, these posters were in the background of this video, and it was definitely on purpose to make him seem like, I don't know, like a better dude, I guess. Just a weird tactic of his. The video starts off with him making a joke.
Guys, I just want to talk.
Which is a bad move for any response or update video, especially whenever you're basically having your career ended over everything. He goes on to say that he's going to be making a multi-upload response. Like,
There's a lot I have to share with you over the next few uploads.
I have a lot to talk about in my next few uploads. Like, bro, you upload once a year. Besides now, like, what? You're telling me that you're gonna... Why not just say it all now? Just say it all now, because apparently you have a lot of stuff that you're just not uploading, I guess. And on top of that, he says it'll be tens of years before the story, quote, comes to light.
It may be decades before the truth around this case comes to light.
He attempts to gaslight his audience, or whatever he has left of one, by saying that everything that they are being told in videos like this one you're watching are lies, and that they are under, quote, psychosis.
Now, you've probably heard a lot of different things about me. Distinguishing between what's real and what's not is a challenge in the year 2024. And it's probably only going to get harder as time goes on. Mass psychosis is very real, and I'm sure you all can pretty much feel it at this point.
Basically being manipulated by these videos and such. Whenever all the proof that we are using, you, MamaMax, gave us yourself, and you self-admitted to. He also says that he wants to come back and make more videos.
But I would like to start uploading again.
But wouldn't these videos be fake too? You already admitted to faking videos, so what would we be doing now? Personally, I want to watch and support a video that actually imprisons PDFs and not tell fairy tale AI stories trying to act like they're real and falsely claiming that you got people arrested. I'd rather watch a Netflix documentary or a movie. At least in the movie I know it's fake. Also, super weird that the dude who emphasized so much about protect the kids and how terrible everyone else is for not helping, but never saved a kid and in fact only hurt cases himself. Good job, bozo. In his return video, he also tries to deflect everything going on by saying, don't focus on me and my mess up. Think of all the children out there that are in danger.
We need to refocus our conversations on future generations that are facing multiple global threats that we are all perpetuating. And there's so much work we have to do to help them. So if you take away one thing from this channel, let it be this. Crimes against children remains one of the most devastating sources of injustice and suffering for humanity. That is a fact. So yes, absolutely call the police when you have been harmed or your children. However, that is just the first step in a very long and difficult process that most victims give up on. And most children go without seeing justice. However, we can rebuild the infrastructural issues with law enforcement and legal processes to ensure more kids are getting restorative justice that they deserve. And hopefully one day we can prevent crimes from happening to children at all. That is my mission. Okay? Because justice is not freely given. It is something we must fight for. And that sucks, because a lot of kids can't fight. They don't even know where to begin. They probably don't even know that a crime is being committed against them, most times. Cyber crimes against children continues to rise at an unprecedented scale. And the psychological exploitation of technology will destroy us if we do not correct these patterns. That is my belief. Those who have a voice must speak for those who are voiceless. So with that said, I will see you soon.
I feel like I'm watching like a propaganda video. Like,
This is something like the Russian government would try to like make you watch to start joining the Soviet Union again or something. Like this just feels weird to watch, and like you know what I mean? And also, what are some of these visuals, bro? Like he really is like, this dude's a cult leader, bro. Like, I saw a YouTube title that called him a cult leader, and he's a cult leader. Like, you can't look at these visuals and be like, oh yeah, these are normal, bro. Yeah, the way he talks and the way that he presents his videos is so normal, dude. Like, no, it's not, bro. This is a cult leader. This is a propaganda maker, propaganda merchant, bro. Also kind of adds in and sits on this conspiracy type of argument that the government or some big corporation or cult is hunting down kids and tries to convince you more by his editing style, and it looks like he uses AI-made visuals that are weird and disturbing as a fear tactic and manipulation tactic to switch your thought and idea process. I think his fake voice that he used to do also is a part of that fear tactic or that manipulation to make you think differently. On top of having to get a real life job, he also now is doing local charity work with victims of crimes that he talks about in these videos, which he needs to stay away from. He ruined a case already and faked everything. He is not ready or needs to be around actual victims where he can attempt to pry them to tell their stories to the public and ruin either a case or just give people unneeded exposure. I'm not saying these stories don't need to be heard or told, but it's clear that Max does not have the best intentions or the best ways of going through with anything real and would most likely only do harm. This dude has weird behaviors, a weird past, and probably has attempted to get these actual victims to talk on camera or microphone about their stories, probably manipulating already victims to just try to talk. But hey, maybe he'll get another fantasy video out of it where he actually amplifies an actual story, but then just goes off of it. The more and more I think about it, the more and more frustrating it is, because people were giving this dude money. A decent portion, at least, of MamaMax's audience was actual victims of these type of crimes, and he made 5 figures a month at the peak of his Patreon and was lazy, uploading once a year, faking his videos and stories, and acted like he caught preds and like he was this, quote, bad boy vigilante, either taking justice into his own hands or getting the law on them, when in fact he never did any of this. Dude didn't know anything about the law till he was forced to by everyone to actually talk to a lawyer, which he did talk to a lawyer after uploading all the videos and live streams. After all these videos and live streams, he finally talked to a lawyer. And now an actual lawyer is telling him that they don't have a case, and he got absolutely fraud checked here. And it sucks, as it possibly ruined a case, but at least we know now to excommunicate this dude. I think his monetization needs to be revoked, his channel deleted or abandoned, and he needs to focus on his, quote, local employment, because this is entirely an idiotic thing to do, and I can't stress enough how disgusting it is. He proved who he is as a person, and that he will never learn, as he will always push the narrative that he is a victim of, quote, a defamation campaign, and never wrong. It was clear by his Patreon posts, his videos, how his return video started, and more, that he will not change, and he will always be this way.
Talking about me and plenty of the content creators and on us for basically critiquing him, saying that, you know, we were basically running this hate campaign against him, and eventually the truth will prevail. Now, since January 18th, I will say the truth has not really come out, and we are in mid-August. So yeah, still waiting on that there, buddy. So I figured, okay, maybe give the man a month and maybe he'll learn from his mistakes. Not really. Max posted February 5th on his Patreon, despite the recent defamation campaign. So right there and then, you already know that he's not learned anything regarding the situation, okay? Nothing here mattered. Your support has been invaluable. Unfortunately, our operation here has been severely crippled. So I'm currently seeking local employment. Now, at the time that those videos had come out, Max's Patreon took a sharp nosedive. And obviously, that was the income that he primarily relied on. Because Max was uploading at max like a video or 2 a year, which is not enough to make even anywhere decent AdSense to pay for cost of living.
If he has to work an actual job now, he won't even upload but once every 4 years anyway, as when he was a full-time YouTuber, he'd only upload once a year if even. As a YouTuber myself, I know for a fact it don't take that long to make one of his videos. It could probably take max 2 months. If I'm full-time, I'm probably making a MamaMax video in a month, or at most 2. But he took a year. He would take a year to make these videos. And it's clear that MamaMax can upload multiple videos in that editing style and such in, a short span of time, as that's what he did during this whole drama. He made multiple videos with this editing style. Sure, some of the videos were rushed and stuff, but it's clear to see that he can just make these videos quickly, but chose not to. There was a huge laziness here. MamaMax's videos, live streams, etc. on this, quote, cult were a premature and utter ridiculous decision that ruined his career, credibility, and if real, the entire case. Now, saying it might be decades before there is an end to this, at this point, if I was him, I would never post again. You admitted to being a fraud, manipulated and gaslighted people, and told them that they were being manipulated by all the videos online when we used evidence you gave us against yourself. We use your own words with full context, and you're trying to say that everyone else is under psychosis and being manipulated. Also, yeah, before I end the video, I'll go ahead and make this joke. Hey guys, this video is sponsored by Camden Gerard Davis, because that's something that he would literally accuse someone of that made a video against him on this topic. And he even said in one of those videos, put it in one of those quick text paragraphs, oh, Camden is going to pay people or tell people to go against MamaMax after this video. So there's going to be a defamation campaign against me. From what I heard, there is actual possible victims here, as there has been shared proof to Mutah and whoever else signed this nothing NDA, but no one else but him and probably some other bigger YouTubers have anything about it. Max backstabbed his friends, treated them poorly, is money motivated, a liar, and a fraud who lost it all. His own channel doesn't even show up first when you search his name. Mutah supposedly took over helping the victims just like on his own accord, I guess. That was said by Nicolas DeOrio in one of his videos. I don't know how true that is. And Turkey Tom has already made a video on Camden, so there is no use for MamaMax anymore. If you want to support or watch someone who does actually do stuff against these type of people and gets them arrested, has the law on their side, and uses them in every situation, and actually has a decent upload schedule and is more entertaining and not cringe and not a bad person, go watch Skeeter Gene. He is all those things I just said. Skeeter Gene will be linked in the description below, as well as people's videos on this topic that I have referenced in this video. There is a nice long list of YouTubers who need to face some repercussions. I think MamaMax is on that list and dang near the top. But with everything said, thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Sorry that this video was delayed. There was just a bit to go through here. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, as I make videos on topics like this. And I will keep you uploaded in 3 years when he finally posts another video, so I can dunk on him for it and basically debunk everything that is said. Follow my Twitter at PERK3030. I post there often about current topics. I tell you when I upload and some other stuff. Make sure you hit that bell as well. But in the end, I'm PERK30, and God bless.
Is I personally have not been walked through the evidence besides Spencer's. I could literally cancel you, Charlie. I could literally cancel you. And I choose not to. It's true though. It's the truth. Like, I'm the friggin' p***o hunter. Like,
clearly this video was at least partially in character, but I think there's more to this than what meets the eye. Remember the time that Max straight up wrote that he doesn't hunt predators to help children? He does it because he likes hurting people.